Terrence Evans is a worker bee. I think I got it from my dad. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I am a respiratory therapist working in healthcare. I am a man of faith. That's who I am. Kind of feel like I was kind of brought up as a family caregiver. My mom took care of my great grandma and my mother, so I watched her taking care of them, throughout my life. My grandmother moved in with her, and she took care of her as she aged and went through her illnesses. She persevered through that, and she had great strength through that. Thank God she was able to make that. But it was very hard for her. So I learned a lot from her, just watching her, and I think she taught me a lot. And I think I was kind of bred in the family caregiver. Initially, as a family caregiver, my mom, she was diagnosed with dementia, and in the early days of the dementia, she was able to get about, and I actually went, and we went out. I took her to the store. She loved to go shopping. We loved to go out and have lunch. That was one of our favorite things to do. And again, it was the early stages of her dementia, so I just wanted to get her out. It was my goal just to get her out and allow her to enjoy life, and just have some good times with her and have some good memories. That was my initial thoughts when she had dementia, when she was diagnosed with dementia. Well, fortunately, I had a very supportive wife who didn't mind me going out and taking care of mom, and I had a job where I worked 12-hour shifts 3 days a week, so I had a lot of days off during the week where I could just go and spend time with her, take care of her, check on her as her dementia progressed, and we moved her into a memory care facility. I tried to be there as much as I can, I really did. A lot of times when you have your family member in the facility, it's important to be there to check on them, to let the people know that, hey, this is my mom, I care about her, and I want her to get the best care possible. When they see that family members are coming frequently, they seem to do a little bit better with care. So that was part of that. As far as my job, like I said, I work 3 days a week, and I could take off and do that. It was difficult trying to just balance all that, but I managed to get through it pretty well. I think the most challenges was just making sure that she was taken care of and that she was being treated respectfully while she was in her different facilities. We had moved her around because we weren't very comfortable with some of the ones that she was in. And I think that was probably a challenging thing as well. We really like I said, we wanted the best care for her, and we were just trying to make sure that she was getting the best care possible. A lot of times in facilities, there's a lot of people there, and you never know with some of the shortages in healthcare. And so I just wanted to make sure that she was being taken care of, that they were following our care plans for her. We went over care plans in the facility with the nursing directors per se, and so we just want to make sure they were following that. The medications that she were on, we want to make sure that they were making sure they were giving her those medications and just taking care of her as well as possible. As far as caring for myself, I probably didn't do that as well as I should have. I probably put off a couple of appointments because, of course, it was mom, and she was always more important than anything else I could possibly do. I think I managed to keep most of my appointments, but if there was a conflict between, something that I needed to do and something I needed to do for her, she always came first no matter what. Physically, I don't think I had any physical challenges. I do have, I shouldn't say that. I do have physical challenges. I do have arthritis myself. But I think I was taking care of myself well enough to be able to, go about my daily routine physically. Mentally, it's always a mental challenge because mom had dementia, and that was challenging in itself to just watch her go through the different changes in her personality with the dementia. That was extremely challenging, very, very difficult. and financially we were blessed. You know, we pulled, me and my brothers and sisters pulled together. We helped financially with her, and we were truly blessed to be able to take care of her. I'm just so thankful that we could do that. And I probably would have done anything humanly possible for her. The mom took care of my grandmother and my mother, and we watched her do that. She persevered through that. So if there was nothing that I wouldn't have done for her, that was mom. So I would have done whatever it took to make sure that, you know, she was well taken care of. You know, COVID was just such a crazy time for us. She was in a memory care facility, and there were different policies that we couldn't actually go visit her. It was so difficult. Looking at her through window glasses, through her windows in her room, you know, trying to visit her was just challenging. Birthdays were challenging. So if I could change anything, I would definitely have eliminated the COVID period, because that really made things extremely difficult. Very, very difficult. So that would be something I would have changed. So that was mom. So I probably would have done just about anything. But as a guy, it's a little difficult. As mom's dementia progressed, and you know, we had to see about her. I had everything in my car that I could need. Like if we were to have to take her to a doctor's visit, I mean, I had pads in my car. I had any type of accident that we could possibly have had while we were out. I had that in my car, which is kind of weird. I had change of clothes in my car, you know, just those kind of things. And so as a male, that's kind of weird, I know. But you never know. If there was a time when we were out and mom said I got to go to the bathroom, then guess what? We went to the bathroom, we took everything we needed, and we took care of what we needed to take care of. And I could see people kind of looking at me kind of strange, but that was mom, and we had to take care of what we had to take care of. So that was kind of weird and difficult. But I did not have a problem doing it at all. That was mom. I did what I needed to do. And I would encourage any male, and it doesn't matter whether it's your mom or your dad or your brother, definitely, you know, you can't be afraid of that. And a lot of times as males, we kind of hold stuff in and kind of hold our feelings in. But you know, just go ahead and do what you need to do for your loved one. You know, take care of them, love them. You know, mom would have definitely done that for me, and I was glad to be able to do it for her.
Sharon Robinson, I would say, is a woman who wants nothing but the best for everybody. A mother, a entrepreneur, one who seeks opportunities and look to bring opportunities to other people. And most importantly, Sharon Robinson is a woman who's after God's heart. That's who Sharon Robinson is. On October the 11th, 2021 would be the day that my life would change forever. On October 12th would be the day I received a call that my son Christian had been shot and in result was killed during a robbery when someone tried to rob him inside of a convenience store. Since that day, my emotions have been at a place of hurt, confusion, and not knowing which way I am to go at times. Because as a mother, to get a call that your son has been killed and also that your son was innocently victimized and result was killed is the most devastating news one would ever want to receive. And since receiving that call, I found myself trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with this incident that has occurred, which can never revert back to what was considered a normal life for me. The way I've grown to balance family life since the killing of Kristen has been a journey, which took me time to get to a place of self-care. And initially I didn't know how to give myself self-care. So self-care is the only way for me to balance life, work, and family. So that's what I had to do. I had to learn how to reach back and give myself self-care. The way I keep myself from spiraling down and not staying in a stuck place of emotions is by dealing with the emotions, facing them, admitting that they're there, because it's understandable to be emotional after a trauma has occurred. But after I have identified that what I'm feeling is okay to feel, after a while I regroup, sit back and think about what I am feeling and why I'm feeling it, and that this is natural. I pick myself up, get out of that moment, because that's what it is, it's just a moment, and I proceed on to find something else to occupy that mental space. So what that looks like as far as my mental is concerned and physical, that's a daily journey. So daily you're gonna struggle to mentally find a place of movement without going backwards. And with that, I mean getting up, creating a routine for myself is how I create mental balance. Meditation, finding something, no matter what that something may be, that I like to do, that also helps me create mental balance for myself. Getting out walking, making sure I know and I tell myself that I've got to keep moving and my physical has to stay in place. So getting up and exercising is how I keep the physical going. And the financial, there's really not a lot I could say on the financial piece other than the burden that it brings on trying to make sure that things are being handled from a legal perspective, because it is a court case, because it is a homicide. Well, with Kristen, there were many funny times. He was a funny guy. Loved to laugh, loved to make other people smile and laugh. And there was a time when we were riding in the car and a hip hop song, it's really a rap song, came on, and I was bobbing my head to the beat of the song, and I didn't know all the lyrics. And when he heard me singing the song, he screamed, "Mom, what are you doing? What does my sisters have you doing? How do they have you singing this song?" And I think about that moment and I laugh, because it was only he and I in the car. And that was so funny, because he believed my daughters had me just singing everything without me even knowing what the words meant. So that was one of our funny moments that I think of a lot. So Kristen's children, Kristen has 3 children, a 14-year-old daughter, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old son. And this trauma has impacted all 3 in different ways. his 14-year-old, she's a little more withdrawn. She doesn't talk about him much, especially with other people outside of her mother or myself. And his 7-year-old, she openly talks about him and express how much she missed her dad in moments that she knew dad would be here. And his now 3-year-old, he looks for him sometimes, and he doesn't understand why he can't find his dad. So it's been a major impact on the lives of the children. I would encourage any mother, anybody who has experienced such a trauma as homicide of a loved one to be sure to allow yourself the time to heal. Your time of healing will be forever, long lasting. However, during your healing, there has to be care for oneself. Because if we don't care for ourselves, we cannot start the healing process, and neither can we help anyone else. There are organizations that are out there that will support us. There are organizations such as Everytown, Moms Demand Action, and these organizations have been quite supportive in my journey. So take the time to be okay with the moment that you're in. Have that moment. You earn the right to have it, but don't stay there, because there's so much work for you to do outside of the moment. And your love for your loved one will always carry with you. It will never go away. And you carry that love with you on your journey. Give yourself self-care. It's crucial. And let no one dictate what your self-care looks like. Meaning, take time for you. If it's looking at the birds, it don't matter. Take time for you. You'll need that.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
Hey, Genea. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome to Keep Living in Your Right Mind. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
At the round table, okay? So we are here to talk with Donna Lee Warner, with over 10 years of experience as a CNA, to just share some of her experiences, her stories, and tips for us family caregivers who don't normally, take care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of our loved ones. And so she just wanted to share some tips and advice, okay? So tell us about some of your experiences.
Well, first of all, I would like to start off by saying thank you to yourself and everyone out here who has chosen to go this route as a family caregiver. Mm-hmm. I've done it, so I know, in my personal life, so I know it's not an easy journey, but in the end, it's definitely well worth it.
That's true.
I think self-care. When I think of self-care, I think about how many of us are walking around with our own health issues. Mm-hmm. And because we are so focused on our loved ones that we neglect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if we don't take care of us, who's going to take care of them?
That is so true. Yes, yes.
So that's something that we definitely have to do better by. And I'm speaking from personal experience because it took me a while to get to that point. Mm-hmm. It's easy to put yourself on the back burner, but in the end, you end up suffering. You're stressed out.
Right.
You're irritated. Yes. You're not sleeping. Yes. You're not eating properly. Mm-hmm. So I've learned over the years to do things like, let's go get my hair done. Let's go get your nails done. Something as simple as a nap. Mm-hmm. That may be all you need. Yes. To revitalize you.
That's true. Naps are good. Mm-hmm.
And clear your head. Also, I think asking for help is extremely important. Mm-hmm. When I think of it takes a village, most of the time we think of children. Well, in this case, it's going to take a village to do this too.
That's true.
So ask for the help. Ask for what you need. Don't be afraid to do it. Whether it be someone to prepare meals for you. Mm-hmm. Do the laundry. Mm-hmm. Come sit with mom or dad, just so you can have a breather.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. So what do you say to those caregivers out there who would say, well, you know what, Donna, I don't have anyone. I don't have a support system, and honestly, I just don't have any help. And it's just, I'm just the only one taking care of my loved one. How would they be able to care for themselves if they're just the only one?
Well, I think that, at that point you need to reach out to maybe your loved one's physician and have them maybe hook you up with a social worker, because there are resources available. A lot of times we just don't know it and don't know how to go about getting it. So definitely reach out. It's help there, but you can't get help if you don't ask.
That's true. That's so true. That is so true. So tell us a good story from one of your experiences.
A good story. Okay, let's talk about families reconnecting.
Oh,
so
good.
I had a patient, and she had 2 children. Her son was out of state. The daughter was the primary caregiver. And, prior to that point, they really didn't have a great relationship. And so along the journey, of course, there were a lot of bumps, a lot of bruises, a lot of tears, a lot of unnecessary words. And I thank God, because he allows me sometimes to step in, he puts me in a position sometimes that he allows me to be the mediator in. And so I said all that to say, even with the tears and the cussing and the fussing, before Mom passed away, there was a rekindling of their relationship. There were hugs, and there were kisses, and there were, I'm sorry, and, I forgive you. And that kind of stuff is important, because once they pass, and that's not, resentment and hurt is not something that we want to carry for the rest of our life. So I think that is one of the most, for me, that brings me the most joy to see things like that happen.
That is awesome. I know a lot of times we lack communication. We lack communication in our families. I'm guilty of it myself, because even when you are the family caregiver, you just feel like you have to do A through Z. You just feel like you have to do everything. And that's not always true. And communication is key. If we just first start communicating, we first start asking, we don't know what the answer is going to be, but if we don't ask, we will never know. And then we will always feel lonely, always feel like we're by ourselves. But it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to communicate. It's okay to reach out, like you stated, to social workers and other resources out there. So, regardless of where you at in this phase and who you're caring for, if you would just reach out, to, like Donna stated, your physician, someone at your church, don't be afraid. Don't feel like, hey, I can't do this because people are gonna look at me. I'm supposed to be strong in this journey as a family caregiver. I'm supposed to do A through Z. No, you're not. You're not supposed to do it by yourself. Not at all. So I appreciate you, Donna, for coming on and just sharing some tips with us. You have any last word of encouragement for a lot of the family caregivers out there? Some are caring for their children that have been injured. Some are caring for their spouses and just not their parents.
I encourage you to just keep your head up. It's easier said than done sometimes, but if you take it one day at a time, I promise you'll make it.
Yes.
It's okay to cry.
Yes.
It's okay to be angry. Like, there are phases to this.
Right.
And it's okay. It's okay to grieve now. Just, again, take it one day at a time. Reach out if you need help, whether it be by a phone call. If you need somebody to come, sit with your loved one. Just communicate your needs so that you can get the help that you need.
Thank you, Melody Cook Blunt, for joining us today. Yes, her full name. Thank you for joining us and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. My world changed in 2016. I experienced so much death. To my brother-in-law, to my twin, to my godmother, to my father. I mean, it was like just hitting left and right. So it was death of people who was in my life that was, that was close to me. Not just, your average person, it was my family members I was losing. And then I also lost relationships. So I lost what I thought was my man. Gotta find out. That wasn't what it was, right? So I learned a life lesson. So I almost felt like, Mike Tyson came in and did that 1-2 punch and I was knocked out. Boom. Because I felt like I had lost everything at that point. So that picture that day, that was a low for me. I was at a low at that point. My mom was bipolar. I tell people all the time, I was born in mental illness. And that's what I was. I
told her I never knew that. I never knew.
And our parents were friends, right? Our parents were friends in high school, right? We knew, but yeah, my mom was bipolar, and so I was born to mental illness. So my sister and I got it from both sides.
Wow.
So my mom and my dad's side of the family, my grandmother and her sisters all suffer from mental illness. So got it coming from both sides, right? So, but then it became me taking care of mom. So it changed from him being the one who get the sheriff, go to the probate court, get the orders, to have her picked up. It became my responsibility.
Now you have become a full-time, 24/7 caregiver.
While you're still trying to be a senior in high school, while you're trying to live, try to be a young person, it fell on me. Yeah, because my sister was not capable of doing that. And she's still not capable of doing that, like doing any of that. So it became what I'm supposed to do now, my responsibility. And as the time went on, my mother's was applying for SSI, and that's the Social Security, disability.
Yes.
And she was denied like 3 times. Folder this thick.
And she was still denied.
She was denied. Yeah, folder was this thick. And I can remember the last time we went in to the Social Security office, and I'm sitting there looking at the lady, and she was like, "Well, she was denied." And I was like, I couldn't understand that. I was like, her folder is like an encyclopedia of her being in and out of the hospital. How can you deny her? And I'm sitting there with the lady, and she's telling me she's denied. I said, "Well, I don't know how I'm gonna take care of my mom. Now, was I a perfect child, or did I do right by anything? Did I do some stuff I shouldn't have did and did at my mom? Yes, I did. I did. Right. I did. I was not perfect at all. But I tried to do the best of my ability of what I thought I knew that I really didn't know.
Based on your knowledge, you did the best.
I did the best I could, right? And I still tried to be, teenager and live that life or whatever. But I sat there in the office with the Social Security lady and my mom sitting just like at the table. Mom over here, and the lady sitting right there. And I look at the lady and I say, "Well, I guess what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go get pregnant." Because during that time, you could get a check for each child you had, right? You could get WIC or whatever it was. You could get whatever it is because you could get a lot, right? So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go get a baby.
See, that was your strategy.
That was my strategy of me saying how to take care of my mom. And my mom was like, she got upset, like to the point where she was about to cry. She was like, "No, you're not. You can't do that." And I think I was a freshman at Clark. I was a freshman at Clark at that time. She's like, "You can't do that. What are you talking about?" Like, she was like, "Are you crazy?" And the lady kind of stood up. She was like, "Wait a minute." She's like, "You can't do that." I said, "But but I can't take care of my mom. But if I had a baby," and she's like, "You can't do that." She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you what to do." And I was like, "Okay." And she did. She's like, "Get an attorney." Didn't know that when you get SSI, you apply, you appeal, they appeal, you get an attorney. An attorney can help you get, the benefits, but it also help you get the back pay too. So I didn't know that. So she gave me that. She told me that. And then she was like, "Okay, so you got to take whatever your grandfather left for your mom, take it out her name, and make it look like she has nothing. Zero. So life lesson learned again. 18 years old, 19 years old, I'm learning this to take care of my mom at this point. So that's where the caregiving actually started. Continued. And at some point in that time, like, we learned that, okay, she was living with my sister, and my husband said she could come live with us. And that was like, are you serious? I was like, oh my God, she come live with us.
Right.
And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Because I think every day I came home, I was just didn't feel good.
Yes.
And so
You was drained.
I was, and I was like, I couldn't take care of her, and she wasn't being taken care of, and she was just in the apartment and just going out in the back and smoking. That's all she was doing, right? So she came to live with us, and that was, I mean, it was like, that was the best thing ever. Well, during that time, she had a stroke. And so that became another level of care at that point. And at that point, the mental illness had kind of dissipated. So it wasn't even around anymore.
Once she had the stroke.
Well, before she had the stroke, it was not, I didn't have to do any hospitalizations. We didn't have to worry about her going in and out, going to the hospital. But what the doctor told me is that the dementia would start taking over the mental illness.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. So
Wow.
she so when she had the stroke, that became a whole nother level of care. And she was at the nursing home up the street on Panthersville from my house, and they did a wonderful job taking care of her. And I think because Melody would pop up there anytime. So
Yes.
so
She stayed very visible.
I was very proud. I was
yes,
like, I'll pop up at 7 in the morning. I could pop up at noon, or I could come at 9 at night.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes,
have to stay visible.
You have to, and I had the red wagon. I didn't have a little one. My district manager, I can remember when I was pregnant with Caitlin, we had a baby shower, and she brought the wagon in there, and it was huge. It was one of them, I don't know what you call it, but they had the cooler in the bottom of it. It was huge. Put that in the back of the truck. So we rolled in the nursing home. We put them in there, and I would take them in the nursing home in the wagon because I had to go see about my mom. And but they actually got her to the point where she could maneuver on the walker, and she could wash herself and keep herself up. So they got her to that point because I couldn't do it. I couldn't have her at the house with me because I had 2 kids under the age of 2, and I was working full time. So I had to figure out how I was going to care for my mom.
So you really had 4 different full-time jobs going on at one time.
Yep. So I had to figure that out. Like, what was I going to do? So I knew they had her. Like, the people loved her. So that was a blessing that they had her, and I knew they did. And they were like, "We gonna get her back up walking." And they did. They got her back doing, everything she needed to do. So the ladies again at the nursing home, social worker, she said, I need you. She said, "Do you want her to stay here?" And I was like, "No, if I can have other options." So this is another thing you guys need to know. They'd rather have your family members home because it costs so much money for them to be in a nursing home. So they offered me to have like a nurse come to the house, but she would have to leave by 5. I couldn't get back home by 5 because I would have to pick the kids up, get back, and so I just didn't feel comfortable leaving her at the house at 6 o'clock until I could get home. Yeah, right. So, but what they did is they taught me well. So again, more people in my life again. She said, "What we have to do is you have to get her out of the nursing home for at least 2 weeks, and then you can put her into a personal care home in somebody's home with a room or something." So that's what I did. Took my 2 weeks vacation, stayed home with mom, found her a nice personal care home, and they were ready to take her in. When that 2 weeks was up, we were ready to move her in. But again, that's still me having to take off the work to take her to the doctor. I still had to do all of that. Like, I had to make sure she had her, her diapers, her clothes. I had to do all of that stuff in addition to that too. So even though she was in a nice place or in a facility with somebody in their home, actually, I still had to do all of that and work and take care of my kids
And be a wife.
and try to be a wife. Yes. Yes. Forgot about that part. Yes. You're right. Forgot about that. Yes.
And that's why I said 4 different full-time jobs going on at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. And so with that, that challenge again came with taking care of her, and then she got to the point where she could no longer be cared for at that point. It had flipped a little bit more. She became more dependent on care. So during that time, we were kind of moving back and forth through personal care homes. And this last one that she was in, loved this lady to death. She took good care of my mom. And we found out, we thought she had pneumonia. But my mom actually had leukemia. And she was in remission for almost 12 years for leukemia. So she was going to see the hematologist. And she had just went to go see the hematologist probably 2 weeks before that. Hematologist, everything came out good. Numbers, everything came out good. Hematologist, like, she looked good. I said, the numbers look good. Yeah, the numbers look good. So we were like, hey, keep on the same regimen. Then 2 weeks later, she got sick and it looked like pneumonia. And it wasn't. It was the white blood cells from leukemia had started back up again. And so it freaked out everyone, like the hematologist, like, everybody was like, wait a minute, she was just here. And so that became another layer of caregiving because that was when she was in her last stages of her life. And so being there during her last stages, taking care of her and in the hospice, and would I do it all over again? I would.
So your mom went from having mental illness to dementia and next. She had a stroke, and then leukemia. Wow. So how did you really manage to keep your head up? How did you really manage to keep living, to not sling your wrist? And this is nothing to joke about. This happens for real, you all. People, there are some people out there who just want to give up on life, who just feel that they have so much on their plate, But how were you able to not give up?
And I go back again to my girls. So we talk about, suicide. And I tell them, kids around us, suicide, they know some people, it's just like, I said, that's the most selfish act. And I'm preaching that to them, right? I'm preaching that to them, like, that is the most selfish act you can do. I've witnessed that, saw how that destroyed when our parents, Auntie Gwen and this man and our family, we saw how that just, the family it just went away.
So did your mom ever sit down with you at any time and just verbally talk to you about her own situation? Did she ever express to you how she was even feeling, knowing exactly how she had become over the years?
No. That was good, Janae. You made me cry. No.
Don't cry.
But I don't think... That was good. Sorry. I don't think she had to, though. And I have to tell you, I always would say to her, why can't you be like other moms? And why not do that? Because I was a child. I saw other moms. But my mom was, oh my God, I can't even tell you how much I love my mom. Oh my goodness, I love my mom. She was a mom, but she raised me. I mean, she raised me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, she raised me like, you wasn't gonna have no boyfriend, no serious boyfriend. You wasn't gonna be none of that. You gonna be home. I can remember one time we were out there on Bull Run. I was minding my business. And Jackie came down that street. They were like, here comes Jackie. I was like, okay, bye. See y'all. And that's what she did, right? I mean, that's what she did. What she did, even though she did her vacations and did her thing. But that she was my mom. She raised me. No doubt about that. And but I can remember doing my senior seminar, because I always like, why you do that? Like, why do you do that? Why do you have to go to the hospital? Like, I would ask those questions, right? But I had a senior seminar at Clark, and I decided to do it on mental illness. And that's when I started understanding she ain't doing this on purpose. She has no control over this, but my mom would take her medication religiously. You didn't have to force her to take no medication. She took her medication and she was good until that medication had to be changed. So them 2 times a year, the medication had to be adjusted. But she took her medication faithfully. Doctor's appointment on time, made her appointment. She did what she was supposed to do to manage her mental illness. If we can get more people to do that,
To do their part.
just to understand that yes, you are suffering, but as a mental ill person, you don't know that you are suffering. You don't know that, but she knew it, and she took care of it, and she made sure she took her medication. She made sure she went to the doctor. I mean, it was just I think that was what made it easy to help care for her, because I knew she wasn't. At that point, when like I said, my singing seminar, at that point, I realized that it was a chemical imbalance, and that I went to this whole detailed understanding what it is, and I was like, oh, I get it now. This is not something she can just, she had to work hard at what she's doing and take her medication, but it wasn't something that she was doing, like just purposely doing it. Like, I'm gonna do this because yeah. So that was a whole nother growth for me to understand that.
So you talked about the therapist. So what did you learn from going to
Oh,
a therapist?
Oh, yeah. So
At a young age, because you said y'all start going with.
You know what? And it's funny because it's like, I think from that experience, I can talk to you about that.
Yes.
Like, I'm very open about my mom being mentally ill.
Yeah.
I'm like, your mom not sick. My mom.
Yeah.
My mom different. And I think that's what I learned from that. Like, I'm not embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed by her.
Mel, you are so brave and so inspirational. Yes, she is. She is so brave and so inspirational.